At Salesforce Ben, we enjoy looking at the current trends in the Salesforce ecosystem and seek to answer questions about how this might affect your own career. After all, that's what you're here for, right? The past couple of years have been dramatic, to say the least, with the Salesforce ecosystem labor market facing a slowdown for the first time in its 25-year history. So, to round off 2024, have our predictions and trends fared well against reality? Let's find out. In January 2023, the word on everyone's lips was recession, and whether or not the global economy was slipping into one. This was right about the time when technology stocks had dramatically tumbled after an 18-month bull run caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, with Salesforce seeing its lowest share price since 2019.
Are you looking for the latest insights to turbocharge your Salesforce instance? We've partnered with IBM for the last few years to launch their State of Salesforce report, an overview on the latest trends in the ecosystem and how they impact your org. This year, the trends that were revealed are definitely not ones to miss, with even more telling insights than last year. I recommend everyone in the ecosystem to read the report, and you can download it for free at salesforceben.com/IBM, or you can click on the link in the comments.
Salesforce wasn't in the best place 2 years ago. Their quarterly revenue growth had started to decline, and co-CEO Brett Taylor had resigned, as well as Tableau CEO Mark Nelson and Slack CEO and co-founder Stuart Butterfield. The cloud giant was also facing an onslaught from activist investors who sought to join their ranks and push for aggressive changes, such as the possible disinvesting of Tableau and Slack. 2 years on, and things are looking much brighter. Although Salesforce's revenue growth is still under 10%, which is historically very low, they are improving margins, and 10% of just under $40 billion is still very impressive. But the real saving grace is Salesforce's Agentforce strategy, which has caused a surge of optimism amongst the Salesforce ecosystem, investors, and the general tech community. Although it's too early to say if this will have any meaningful impact on Salesforce's bottom line, it seems Salesforce is making all the right moves. In their Q3 earnings last week, Salesforce revealed they had closed 200 Agentforce deals in the week before Q3 ended, emphasizing the strong demand for agents. The big takeaway from our analysis 2 years ago is that Salesforce is resilient, and this has proved to be the case. Of course, there have been layoffs and a slowdown in growth, but overall the Salesforce economy is much larger than it was back then, especially taking into account the wider ecosystem with SIs and ISVs. One of the biggest market shifts that has been at the forefront of professionals' minds is the job market. We have moved from a place where all Salesforce professionals, no matter your role or experience level, were extremely in demand. And those who had just a few years of experience under their belt could switch jobs every couple of years for huge bumps in salary. This was explored in depth in our video earlier in the year. The age of cushy Salesforce jobs is over. If you missed it, you can catch it linked in the description. Whilst the Salesforce market is resilient, it is not bulletproof, and the lack of Salesforce's quarterly growth has perpetuated across the Salesforce ecosystem, affecting every type of role. Ultimately, this just comes down to supply and demand. With less supply in terms of new Salesforce products and therefore projects being sold, coupled with layoffs and the rise of boot camps promising entry-level talent outlandish salaries, there's largely been a saturation of professionals in the Salesforce job market. It's safe to say that the Salesforce job market has gone through a huge reset in the past 2 years to establish a new baseline after the unprecedented demand that took place during the pandemic and placed on technology professionals. Moving into 2025, and we have some slithers of good news. Inflation is falling, interest rates are slowly dropping, and Agentforce and AI implementations seem to be on the horizon. But with the current pace of technological advancements, the job market may have changed for the foreseeable future. As explored in our 10 crucial facts and figures about the Salesforce job market in 2024 post, based on the findings by 10K's Talent Ecosystem report, the shift in demand for roles is changing in unexpected ways, including less demand for some roles and more demand for roles in offshoring countries. Layoffs have been an unfortunate hallmark of technology companies for the past couple of years, and we highlighted it in our trends post at the start of the year. Much the same as most of the technology landscape, the Salesforce ecosystem was not immune to layoffs, with Salesforce letting go many thousands of employees. This unfortunately also hit AppExchange companies, end users of Salesforce, as well as Salesforce consultancies, with some unfortunately going out of business. Layoffs.fyi reported a total of 264,000 layoffs in 2023 across nearly 1,200 companies, with 2024 including just over 150,000 layoffs across 500 companies. Whilst things are getting better, it seems we are not out of the weeds yet. But another saving grace courtesy of Salesforce is that they are announced that they will be hiring 1,000 new salespeople to sell their Agentforce product. In their Q3 earnings, Brian Millham, Salesforce's COO, went a step further to say they'll be hiring 1,400 salespeople in Q4, a positive sign that will surely see the effects trickling down into the ecosystem. Salesforce DevOps has been a present figure in many of our posts for the past few years, but after our first annual Salesforce developer survey, we can see just how much of an impact it's having across the ecosystem. With the maturity of many leading third-party DevOps platforms such as Copado, Gearset, AutoRabbit, and Flowsome, as well as the release of the Salesforce DevOps Center, DevOps has been adopted by 70% of the Salesforce ecosystem. This is made up of 40% using a custom-built solution using SFDX or other tools such as Jenkins, 23% using third-party products like those mentioned, and 6% using DevOps Center. This adoption is pretty amazing, and it shows you just how important it is to understand core DevOps processes and tools. One standout statistic from the survey is whilst tools are very well adopted, most developers admitted to only having a basic understanding of SFDX and Git. This presents a possible issue with how well tools are being used, but also presents a big opportunity for professional development. We don't deserve any prizes for identifying Salesforce Flow as a core trend 2 years ago. It is, of course, the go-to automation tool after the official retirement of Workflow Rules and Process Builder, which is coming up at the end of 2025, by the way. But another insight into how professionals are using Flow comes from our developer survey, which identified that a majority of developers are using an equal mix of programmatic versus declarative functionality, proving just how powerful Flow is for developers as well as for functional professionals. One of the biggest trends we'll probably see going forward is just how important Flow will become to Salesforce's Agentforce strategy. Flow is one of the ways that professionals can trigger actions in an Agentforce conversation. From creating a case or updating a customer's shipping address, the amount of flows being created will be increasing exponentially. Flow has been an important skill for all Salesforce professionals to understand and master, but it soon may become a non-negotiable. When we last covered some of the top trends in the ecosystem, we looked at how important Slack was becoming to Salesforce's strategy. After they paid a pretty penny at $27.7 billion back in 2020, the mothership needed to be sure they got ROI on their investment and integrated the product into their wider product suite. But with AI taking the spotlight over the past 18 months, Slack hasn't got the attention or growth that Salesforce had probably expected. This was matched with a lot of executive departures, including co-founder and CEO Stuart Butterfield, Lidan Jones, who took over as CEO, and co-founder and CTO Cal Henderson. This promoted Salesforce to put their co-founder and CTO Parker Harris at the helm as Chief Engineering Officer. While Slack hasn't had the integration into the core platform that some have expected, things could look a lot brighter in 2025. Parker Harris made the bold claim at Dreamforce that he will be killing Chatter, Salesforce's previous collaboration tool released in 2010. The goal is to presumably replace Chatter with Salesforce Channels, a new integration that allows you to work with Salesforce records directly in Slack. Slack may also become the internal home for agents built within Agentforce. At Dreamforce, Salesforce demoed how Slack channels can now have agents within them, meaning you can call on these agents to perform actions within Slack. Salesforce niches or specializations have had a very important part of ecosystem conversations over the past few years, and are something we have identified as a core trend in the past 2 years. As Salesforce has evolved as a platform, so too have the roles within its ecosystem and the products that require specialized skill sets. While Sales Cloud and Service Cloud remain the core of the Salesforce platform, widely used and understood by the majority of the ecosystem, these roles are becoming increasingly commoditized as new professionals enter the space. To stand out, individuals need to focus on more specialized Salesforce products that are harder to master and have fewer professionals working within them. Examples of these products could include MuleSoft, Marketing Cloud, and CPQ. But as the tables below show, the growth of some of Salesforce's more niche products have been slowly falling for many quarters, placing less of a demand on these Salesforce professionals. There certainly is never a dull moment in the Salesforce ecosystem, and although 2024 hasn't been the best of years for the job market, there is still much to remain positive about. Salesforce as a company and as an ecosystem seem to be in a great place. And although we've had the big reset in terms of the job market and the demands of clients, Agentforce could give Salesforce a much needed second wind in the next technological revolution.